foreigners can get turned away for renting places. Sexual harassment, especially on the trains. Working as women in Japan is still kind of hard. It's incredibly difficult to make a credit card as a foreigner here in Japan. Hey guys and girls on Ask Japanese, it's your fancy fashion reporter, Kathy Cat. Ski, kiroi, ski, kiroi. でもやっぱ好き. Today, I'm going to talk about the things that made me mad in Japan, that made me very, very angry and unhappy. There are some uncomfortable truths, but after all, I'm still here. So, let's find out what they are.
3210
So, Japanese people generally say, Kathy, we know you love Japan, but what is the number one thing you do not like about Japan? And I have to be 100% honest with you here is, number one, foreigners can get turned away for renting places. And this is currently concerning me right now as I'm looking for a new place, and it's happened to me so many times already that I found a really nice place and it's still available, and the real estate agent will call them and say, hey, is it vacant? They say yes, and he's like, there's a foreigner who would like to move in. She's German and she speaks really good Japanese. Oh, I see. Thank you for your time. And I've seen that so many times. There's just people who say, yeah, it's vacant. But not for you, because you're a foreigner, and it makes me so sad. But sooner or later, I hope if you don't give up and you don't give in, you're bound to find the right place. There are currently real estate agents that specialize in foreigners, so they already have connections and contact with landlords that are totally cool with foreigners moving in, and those kind of places are a lifesaver, and it saves you a lot of time. Also, if you look for properties that are a little bit older or maybe a little bit in an area that's not so popular, you might have a higher chance of them saying, hey, it doesn't matter where you're from, you can totally move in here. The stigma I heard got caused because a lot of foreigners left without paying the rent, and so some landlords are a bit reluctant to letting foreigners move back into the place. But I hope in the future things will change a little bit more and it will be easier for us to find a nice place.
NEXT
Number 2, the medical system. Now, I must say, personally, this is my opinion because I've been spoiled. You know, I lived in Germany, great healthcare system, and in the UK, where we got the NHS. So I am a bit spoiled around this topic. For me, it was new to have to pay insurance, but then also to pay a certain percentage at the doctors. The good thing is the insurance covers a certain percentage, usually 60% or more, depending on what insurance you pick. So that's a good thing. Minor thing, if you're not used to paying at the doctors, it can surprise you a little bit. And if you're gonna go into hospital, you have to pay up to, $3,000 up front to make sure you insure yourself a bed and similar things like that, depending on where you're going. So there's a lot of finance involved. So always put a little bit of money aside just for emergencies so you can cover your bases. It surprised me a lot as being a German person, but I guess it's good compared to other countries when there isn't any insurance system at all.
お疲れ様です
Number 3, proper employment, aka seishain, is really hard to get. In Japan, there are different types of contract works, meaning, for example, binding hours, non-binding hours. Some of them even bind you to a company, meaning you cannot work for any other company. But on top of all of those, contract working is one thing, and that's the seishain status. That means you're 100% properly employed to a company, which means they also pay you certain benefits, healthcare, you might get a bonus, all those kind of points. And going to become a seishain is actually incredibly hard for foreigners. I only know one person in my circle of friends who's reached that status. Generally, most foreigners only get on contract work. The thing is, even Japanese people, though, they struggle becoming seishain too. Once you hit the age of 30, getting a company to say, okay, we're going to employ you with all the benefits gets harder and harder. Pension, bonus, healthcare, and also a protection against getting fired that easily are some parts that the seishain life offering. However, like I said, many foreigners cannot really get there on the backside or the dark side of it, that many seishain people who are seishain to a company often get asked to work unpaid overtime or extra time, or maybe they even have to move because they are now fully employed to that company and need to accommodate the wishes that the company does for them. So there's plus and minus to both sides, but if you want to have all the bonuses and all the benefits, Seishine is where you would like to be ideally in the future. But like I said, it's hard for foreigners and it's hard for people over 30, apparently.
ちょっと待ってね。
Number 4, sexual harassment, especially on the trains. Now, it's not just a story and it's not just a thing that you hear about on the internet. It's actually a big problem for Japan, especially in the more crowded areas, is, for example, the sexual harassment on trains. It happens a lot, and it happens way too much. And Japan is trying its best to tackle the situation by, in the mornings, for example, having women's only cards established. But especially in the trains that have long times from one stop to the next stop, where full of people, it's really hard to sometimes capture that, like get to the core of that problem. We've done some interviews before. There's been different measures, there's ideas of stamps, there's ideas of this or that. It's still very hard to track down on it. And knowing that the target audience is usually young women and girls is pretty sad. Now, again, Japan is trying its best to change it. I hope they'll manage to change it sooner or later. I know this is not a problem just for foreigners. It's just as much for Japanese girls, or even more for Japanese girls than some foreigners. So hopefully they'll find a way to track down on that, because it certainly can affect people's quality of life.
しばらくお待ちください。
Number 5, working as women in Japan is still kind of hard. Unfortunately, in these times of corona, the suicide rate of women in Japan has gone up exponentially, like crazy this year. And one of the reasons people are speculating why the suicides amongst women have gone up so much more than amongst men is that many of the people that get laid off were female workers, or many mothers who were raising the kids by themselves couldn't take care of the kids and the job at the same time, and loads and loads of negative factors are factoring into this. And it goes back to the point that it's really hard for women in Japan to establish a career in the first place, and some of the jobs are seen as less important or maybe easier to get out. So women in Japan are really struggling very hard, and I hope there's going to be in the future a little bit more to protect them, especially now in the corona times. I think Japan has seen how vital it is and how much more support there is sometimes necessary. So I hope the future is a little bit brighter for the women and girls of Japan on that note.
準備はいいですか？
Number 6, the stamp signature system. Hanko. In Japan, Japanese people generally don't sign documents with their signature. They sign documents with a stamp that has been specifically made for them with the symbols of their name. Usually in red ink, boop, you sign it, stamp, 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 stamp. Now that stamp becomes incredibly important because that stamp is your signature. Meaning if you lose that stamp, you kind of lost your signature, and that's a big deal. I've actually lost my last hanko somewhere when I was moving house, and it was a real pain to get it back up because it counts as a signature. You have to kind of go around and then reapply for a lot of new things and register the thing, and oh my god, it's so complicated. And what many people had to do, even in corona times, is drive all the way into work because several people have to stamp the same document in order for certain things to pass in a company. So that's very inconvenient. You need to go all the way just to go boop and then go all the way back. Now, the good news, though, is that they're going to change that. What made news the other week is that thousands and thousands of documents that up until now had required a hanko will from now on not require a hanko stamp anymore. Woo! Japan is changing for the better. I love it. Thank you so much. Please change it. Yes!
ちょっと待ってね。
Number 7, it's incredibly difficult to make a credit card as a foreigner here in Japan. In Japan, you need to have a credit card for certain types. For example, in order to get a phone contract, you need a credit card. And for an internet contract, you need a credit card. For a lot of things, you actually need a credit card. And it makes your life so much easier, even if it's just booking flights and similar things like that. However, oh my god, it's almost impossible to make a credit card here in Japan as a foreigner when you've just arrived. I've personally tried it a couple of times and I got rejected. All my friends got rejected. The only people who actually managed to get a credit card in the end are those people who either already very, very rich or those people who've been living in Japan for a long time. So those who've been here 10 years and plus managed to get a credit card in the end. I heard a rumor it's easier to get a credit card with certain services, for example, like Rakuten. I haven't tried it out yet, but I might get tempted to try in the future because seriously, I think I need a credit card sometime soon. Please, Japan, let me have a credit card.
お疲れ様です。
Number 8. If you are trying to swim against the stream of traditional values, you have it a lot harder. In Japan, there are some very traditional values that are still very important and valid here. And one of them is the ideal family, which is still the idea that a woman will maybe quit her job or just take part-time jobs in order to support the family, or people will marry very, very young, meaning you should be married, like start thinking about marriage when you're 24, because, you know, afterwards your time is ticking, that kind of stuff. So if you can do that and you like to do that, that's great, because then you fit into the general stream of what everyone else is doing. But if you can't feel that you fit into that you're not married at the right time, that you're not, you know, conforming to the things that some people in society want you to conform to, it makes it a little bit harder. But still, it's not impossible. I know if you're trying to swim against stream, same thing for your country. It's always going to be hard, but hold in there. If you know, you'll find your way of happiness, and I think that's what life is all about. Not everyone can be married at the age of 24 and have the first 3 kids before they're 30. All those values and traditions might work for some, but they don't have to work for you. And I think Japan is starting to accept that a lot of things are changing little by little, and it puts a lot of less pressure on the women to conform to the domestics and on the men to earn a lot of money so they can, you know, do the whole upkeep for the whole family. So things are changing, things are getting a little bit more modern, but some of the old traditional things still exist. But I think Japan is striving to be better than yesterday, and there's loads more things to come.
3、2、1、0。
I knew what I put myself up for when I decided to go the road less traveled, meaning coming all the way out here to Japan, Tokyo, to live my dreams and make the things happen that I wanted to do. And as you can tell, I'm still here, which means for me, the positives, the kindness, the culture, the people, the wonderful people of Japan are still a big plus. And for me, they personally outweigh the negatives that I have seen here. Every country has the plus and minus, so let's keep that in mind. I say I love Japan and I'm still here. I hope you enjoyed this video and I can make you excited for more videos from Japan coming out to you. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss them, and leave us a like just to say you enjoyed this video. I hope I'll see you soon for another video from Japan. This was Kathy Cat, and I'll catch you soon.